How's it going, everybody? Hope things are all good. First YouTube video in a couple of weeks since I went on holiday back a married man. So been a crazy few weeks, but I wanted to make this video in terms of how do we get bigger, and I want to make it simple for people because people are overcomplicating this in the industry. I'm seeing people who have no business talking about things that don't matter. So whether we're training muscles in a lengthened or a shortened range, do what exercise is best? Should I isolate this prior to doing this? Should I do things in this order? It's all shit that doesn't matter for you, and I wanna just go through like the basic stuff that you really need to hammer home. And again, this is what's gonna work. It's not some bullshit that is touted in the industry by people trying to sell you things or all that sort of stuff. This is the stuff that you need to focus on. These are the fundamentals. If you nail this down for a long time, I guarantee you're going to get bigger. There's no two ways about it. It's pretty simple, and you don't need to complicate it. So I want to get into it. Right. So what are the main problems in the industry? Again, I've been involved in this industry now for coming up to 13 years, and I've been in a position of a lot of beginners, a lot of noobs. I remember being 15, 16, looking up to all these people on YouTube and thinking they were natural, and listening to some of the stuff they were saying, and in reality now looking back, it was just all a load of nonsense, and I couldn't distinguish between what was bullshit and what worked, because you're a 15, 16-year-old kid. You don't really know what to think. You're just trying to get bigger and stronger, so you're gonna look to someone who's bigger and stronger and take advice from them. It's pretty simple, but as the years have gone by, we know there's a lot of shit out there. So there's too much bullshit out there. There's people who are trying to sell you workouts that they know full well won't work for them, but they look flashy on Instagram. The workouts that they did to build their physique are probably not the ones that are trying to sell you, because again, it's not flashy. You've also got a ton of fake natties with zero clue how to train. For the most part, they're the size they are because of a ton of gear, maybe favourable genetics. They don't know how to train. They've just, they've decided to stick a needle in their ass over time, do some sort of shit training, which again, that probably will not work for 90% of people, especially if you're a natural lifter and you're trying to follow some of these ridiculous warehouse and routines that some of these people will peddle. It's crazy. As I say, if some people follow these routines, they're going to get injured, they're going to get hurt, they're going to get burnt out, and it's criminal that you've got these people peddling these warehouses. It's wrong. You see it all over Instagram, TikTok. It's everywhere, but no one wants to call it out because it gets brushed under the carpet. The fitness industry is a money maker, so people don't want to talk about the dirty secrets, but that's the truth. The other thing is, again, as I said before, you got everybody overthinking every last detail. I've got beginners who are weak in general. They don't have a lot of muscle mass, and they're overcomplicating every minor detail. I've got kids coming to me who are struggling to, whether it be bench 135, 155, and they're asking me about, do I need to isolate my chest with pec flies? Should I do this order? It doesn't matter. You're overcomplicating things. What you need to do is get stronger, which I'm going to get into in a minute. And again, majoring in the minors, people are looking at all the small stuff that do not matter. Which supplement is best? Should I take this creatine? Should I take this whey protein powder? Should I do this before I sleep? Again, it's all bullshit. It all doesn't matter for you. It's the tiny 1% which are not going to make or break your physique right now. Now, let's get into the stuff that you actually need to be focusing on. This is the important stuff, okay? So we're trying to get bigger. Step one, it's good technique. Now, I don't care who you are, right? If you've been training for 3 years, 4 years, that doesn't mean nothing to me, because I've seen people who've trained for 10 years with dog shit technique, and their physique shows that. So step one, and it doesn't matter what experience level you're at, you need good technique. You need to build good technique. You need to know how to move under load correctly with your body, right? Taking a muscle through a full range of motion, good eccentrics, decent tempo, and actually making sure you're working the target muscle the way it's meant to be worked. If you're using a ton of momentum, your ego lifting with weights that you have no business touching, again, you can be 5 years into your training and still doing this because you lift like an idiot. So again, this is the foundation of everything. Without good technique, everything to do with volume, intensity, frequency, how many times a week you can train, how many sets do you need, all this stuff. Without good technique, nothing matters. This is what sets the tone for everything. Okay, this poor technique will render every program worthless, and you're not going to get as much out of it. This is step one. And as I say, some people fail to even get past this point in the gym, and that's why they look the same year on year out, and they never change anything. Again, if you're unsure about this as well, a good coach off the rip in your training career or a couple of years in, a good coach who knows the score can help you out with this as well. It will get you lifting correctly. It's a very underrated benefit of a coach, or having someone in your corner at first or in the first couple of years who can make sure you're doing things right. It sets the tone, right? So that's number one, is good technique. Sets the tone for everything. And that takes us into exercise selection. Now, this, for me, this becomes a lot more important as you get a little bit more advanced. But again, if you had a good coach within your first couple of years of training, they can get you set up on a decent exercise selection which fits your structure. Is that as important within your first couple of years? Probably not, because you're going to get results anyway by following some of the other steps that I'll talk about in a minute. But if you can find movements that are going to fit your structure, again, if you're a beginner watching this, you might not really know what I mean by that, but it's you want to work with your leverages. Some people are going to have longer arms, longer legs, shorter torso, longer torso. You may be more torso dominant, you may be more limb dominant. And if you're a beginner watching this, you're probably not really going to know where you fall in that category. So that's where a good coach can help that. But as long as you follow some of the basic principles for the first couple of years that I'm going to talk about, you're going to be fine. So don't need to overcomplicate it at first. But as you get into things, you want things that are going to fit your structure. Now, the next big step is making sure exercises that you do pick, it can be a combination of anything. It can be free weights, machines, cables, dumbbells, calisthenics. Tension is tension. The body does not know where it's getting tension from. The main thing is the movements that you pick, you can overload them safely over time. We have a great loading potential. For example, it makes no sense to, if we pick an exercise where you can only add 10 pounds with, for example, or you're trying to lift on a Bosu ball with no stability and you can't progress that at all, for example. All stupid shit like that. It makes no sense. That's a good thing with like a barbell as well. We can load that indefinitely. You can load that for how many years in the future. Same with good machines that are plate loaded. You've got plenty of room, you can load them over time. I mean, you have good stability on some of these exercises and you can load them for a long time. That's going to lend itself better to get bigger, because you've got so many avenues you can go down to progress it. If you're limited by how much you can progress in movements, it's not going to be the best in the long run. Okay, so that's good exercise selection. So good technique, good exercise selection, and then you're off. Then you're in a very good spot. Then we get into all the other details, all little intricacies when it comes to volume, frequency, intensity. Now let me just start this off by saying there is no right one way to train. There is no you must train low volume or high volume. Many ways to skin a cat. This is all going to be mainly dependent on where you're at in your experience levels and if you found out what works for you. But as a general gist of things and a general guideline, right, a range of 6 to 15 sets per week for a muscle group. Now, that's a big range. Now, someone with less experience is probably not going to do much with 6 sets because they haven't got the ability to contract the muscle that well under load just yet. They need more practice. So you may find people with less experience need a little bit more volume. They're going to be teetering on that 15 sets per week, maybe even a little bit higher, because they don't have the ability to contract the muscle very well just yet. So they need more practice and more sets. That's part of the game. And then you may be on the lower end, 6 to 8 sets per week if you really know what you're doing. Let's say you are experienced, you're someone who's got 10, 11, 12 years of training, good training under your belt. You know what you're doing. You have good technique, good exercise selection. You can get more out of less because you've trained your body to know how to do that. So that's the big nuance with that. Now, that will also take into account how close to failure do you train. Now, this isn't an argument of whether you should train to failure on everything or shy of failure. That is person dependent. Again, the person who trains with 6 sets per week, so on a lower volume, you're going to more than likely be training to failure, right up to failure, because you know how to do that. You've got good rep accuracy, as I say. You've got a good exercise selection. you know how to contract the muscle under load, you can train to failure with 6 sets per week for a muscle group, and that will be enough for you. Somebody who's 1 to 2 years into their training game, they may need 15 sets with 3 reps in the tank, and that will work for them. They can train shy of failure and get the results needed because, again, they're not as experienced. So that's a little bit, again, more nuance of, you're going to train to failure, you're going to be on the lower end of the sets per week. If you're going to train reps in reserve, 2-3 reps in reserve, most sets, you're going to need more total weekly sets. That's it. Now, in terms of how many times to hit a muscle group, I'm always going to recommend at least 2 times a week, right? Or 2 times every 5 days. I think that's going to be a good spot for a lot of people. Some people can handle more. Some people don't need as much. Some people can handle the bro splits, for example, where they'll hit a muscle group once per week. But on average, again, if you take this into account and you follow this 2 times per week, 2 times every 5 days, if you trained on a 10-day split, for example, you're going to cover all of your bases, okay? And then the final thing is, again, which makes all of this make sense. If you're resting 3 to 5 minutes between sets, that's going to ensure better set quality. If you're resting 1 minute 30 in between sets, you're probably going to require a little bit more volume to actually gather the effective reps towards the end of a set. If you rest 3 to 5 minutes between every set, you're going to make sure that you can grab on to that high threshold motor units, and you can produce more mechanical tension towards the end of a set because you're fully rested. You're not letting other things like your cardiovascular system, the nervous system output, secondary muscles. You're not letting all of that stuff inhibit your performance on a set. So resting 3 to 5 minutes is always going to trump 1 to 2 minutes when it comes to actually getting bigger. Now, people can argue all they want about that. People like to train a certain way, that's fine, but there is no way around the 3 to 5 minutes will have you going into a set fully recovered, and you'll be able to lift more for more reps, and ultimately that's what's going to get us bigger. So that's step 3. Now, the next one, vitally important concept, which everybody just seems to forget, and as I say, overcomplicates everything for no reason. So we've got a wide range of rep ranges that we can progress in, like the 5 to 30 rep range. If you take your lifts, or whatever lift that may be, and you progress that in the 5 to 30 rep range, you have a big wide variety of a rep range to work into. Most people are going to be in the 5 to 15 rep range for the most part, but there is nothing wrong if someone had the avenue to go down and to progress a set of 20, 25. As long as you're training close to failure, you're going to be okay. But you're going to find most people are going to stick in the 5 to 15 range as it is anyway. But you have the 5 to 30 if you needed to. Training close to failure, progressing all of your movements in that rep range, you're going to be good to go. Getting your plus ones over time, reps, right? More weight, better execution. That is what your progression is built upon. That is the lifeblood of progression with getting bigger, okay? Stop overcomplicating all this stuff. If you're some young kid and you're coming to me and you're saying, how do I get a bigger chest? Should I do this cable fly? Should I do this exercise first? You're coming to me, you're 150 pounds soaking wet, right? You're pressing the 25 kilo or 55 pound dumbbells for 6 to 8, and you're asking me, do I need to isolate my pecs like this? What order should I do? Should I train my pecs in the short and the lengthened position first? It does not matter, right? This is not to be rude or anything like that, but you're quite simply weak and you're not strong enough just yet in order to be worrying about that stuff. If you take the 25 kilo, 55 pound dumbbells, right? You're pressing those for 6 to 8 now. Your goal over the next 5 years, get them to 50 kilos, 110 pounds for 6 to 8 reps over the next 5 years. What is going to happen to your chest if you do that? You do that with all of your lifts, your bicep curls, whether it be tricep extensions, squats, hip hinges, rows, pull-ups, pull-downs, everything. If you progress everything over the next 5 years with good technique in the 5 to 30 rep range while pushing your body weight up slowly, what do you think is going to happen? That's the ticket to getting big. Stop complicating it with all this bullshit that doesn't matter, okay? Screenshot this slide or keep coming back to this because this is what the majority need to hear. Stop fucking around with shit that doesn't work, okay? Now, in order for step 4 to work, step 5 needs to be on point, okay? Everybody talks about eating, sleeping. It's like beating the same old record, right? We know that, but everyone fails to do it. So you've got to go back to it. As I say, in order for step 4 to happen, getting your plus ones and getting stronger over time, your eating and sleeping needs to be of vital importance for you, right? Slight calorie surplus is always going to be central to optimal muscle gain. I don't care who you are, whether you're a beginner. Beginners are going to have more leeway, right? You can eat at maintenance and you'll be able to gain muscle for maybe the first 6 to 12 months. But when I say I don't care who you are, what I mean by that is if you're 4 or 5 years into your training career and you're telling me you can build muscle eating in a deficit, I'm just going to call bullshit, because once you've got rid of your beginner gains, it's very, very hard for that to happen, right? You need to be in a slight calorie surplus daily, consistently. That is central to optimal muscle gain, right? Now, the way to go about it, you'd always hear me talking about the bulk and cut cycles, but doing them correctly, right? You want to start from a lean body fat percentage. If you're around 11% body fat, you're in a good position to have a push up. Now, you start from a lean body fat position and you're going to take your body weight up 20 to 30 pounds over the course of a year. And while in that 12-month time frame, if you take your body up, let's say you're 10% body fat at 170 pounds, right? You take your body weight up over the course of a year, you go from 170 to 200 over the course of a year, nice and slow, while progressing everything in the gym. All of your lifts, everything going up, strength levels flying through the roof, you're touching weights that you've never touched before. That is going to net you some muscle growth. So you're going to be 200 pounds. Of course, you're going to gain some body fat too, but you're also going to gain a ton of muscle with that. Then you will diet back down as soon as possible. You started from 170, you ended up 200. Then when you diet down, you could be 175, 176. So you've netted 5-6 pounds of muscle. Now that is perfectly feasible in the first couple of years of training. You can 100% do that. Maybe if someone is a little bit more experienced, it may be less, but still, that's the fastest and most efficient way to build muscle. Okay, you need to go through these slow bulking cycles, progressing everything in the gym, and cut as fast as possible without losing muscle tissue, because then you're going to be left with more net muscle tissue over time. And then it's repeating those cycles, the pushes up in body weight, the dieting down, pushing up, dieting down, improving performance in the gym from year on year on year. Ultimately, do 10 years of that. Where are you going to be with your physique? That's how you do it, right? That's it. And then obviously, at the bottom, sleeping 7 to 9 hours in conjunction with having nutrition on point. Recovery is a multifaceted thing you need to look at. Comes from multiple different avenues: sleep, nutrition, stress management, all that stuff. Doing them things consistently while progressing everything in the gym. That's how we're going to get bigger. So you need to stop complicating it, okay? No bullshit. It's just doing this stuff for a long time. That's how you're going to get bigger, okay? Stop complicating it with all shit that you see online. Come back to this presentation whenever you're a little bit lost and you don't really know what to do. People don't like some of this advice though, because it's pretty simple and there's nothing fancy about it. But people don't like simple. They like fancy. They like things that are flashy and all bullshit like that. They want special techniques and tips. There's no such thing. It's doing the stuff that works for a long time. That's what'll get you results. All right. So let me know what you think. Any comments, anything like that, drop them down below. Right, and I'll talk to you in the next one.